Welcome back to our video series. In these tutorials, we will help you configure your data through Cubo Insight's conversational UI in just a few minutes. So far, we have looked at various concepts of an entity. In this tutorial, let's talk about the named aggregates. Click on View and edit the logical data model. The first named aggregate that we will add is on the transaction entity, which will help us determine the average spending on products, say shirts in this case. We will also determine if a certain transaction is for a product by referring to the product entity. So let's see how this can be done. Add the aggregate phrase as average spend on shirts. Let's select the aggregate attribute name as amount and prohibit the entity name usage. This means you can now ask a direct query, average spend on shirts, instead of average spend on shirts of the transactions. Select a filter type, referenced entity filter, and entity name as product. We will define the relationship between these two entities' product serial and product code is equal to product.serial and product.code. Select the filter as a string filter on attributes from the product. The description contains shirts. Now, all the transactions corresponding to shirts will be average transactions. Let's go ahead and save this and add another named aggregate on the customer entity. Let's call it Count of High Spenders. We would want to prohibit the entity name usage to avoid asking a question like Count of High Spenders of the customers. Add an aggregate function, count in this case, and define the type of filter as a referencing entity group filter. This is to determine whether a customer is a high spender or a low spender based on the transactions the customer has made. Select the entity as transaction and determine the relation as transaction.customerID equals customer.id. This is to make sure that it refers to the same customer in the transaction. Select comparison filter. Let's aggregate from the transaction amount and sum it up. Let's say the sum of the amount is greater than 100, which means any customer with sum of transactions greater than 100 is a high spender. Save this draft, activate it, and reload. Let's log in and try out some of the named aggregates that we have just configured. Click on Cubo channel and ask for average spend on shirts. Let's refine this by month. As you can see, named aggregates can be combined with other filters in context of other constraints, like by month, monthly, etc. Let's try out another named aggregate, Count of High Spenders. Let's combine named aggregates with filters and ask high spenders in Europe. And here you go! These are some interesting and actionable insights you can unlock by configuring various concepts of the logical data model. In the upcoming videos, we will familiarize ourselves with some other details of the data model. Stay tuned for more!